Welcome back, guys. 'Tis time for another What's Its Face. So does anyone remember one of my past What's Its Faces? Like, I don't know, 6? It was somewhere around 6, I think. About Isabella's book, Daughter of Kings, and its main character. If you don't, you should go watch it because I did a really funny short scene from her book. It involves the dumping of tea on one's brother. In that episode, I said I plan to do some more episodes about smaller, more unknown trilogies and single books and stuff that I've read. Things other than Wings of Fire and Warriors and Percy Jackson. Well, this fortnight I will be fulfilling that promise. This week's What's Its Face is about the Prisoner of Ice and Snow books. Prisoner of Ice and Snow and its sequel, Seeker of the Crown, were written by Ruth Lauren. I'm not sure if they're a series titled Prisoner of Ice and Snow or if they just rely on their own titles. Honestly, it's not too important for me since I just really love the title Prisoner of Ice and Snow. The second book has been out for several months now, the first for at least a year, but I'll still warn of spoilers. I'm gonna try to have a spoiler-free section and a spoiler section. First off, though, I highly recommend these books to anyone who can get their hands on them. Both are creative and excellently written. Neither take the direction you think they will. It's one of those beautiful books that never lets you anticipate more than a page and a half ahead. Sometimes not even that. They both kept me on the edge of my seat the whole time I was reading them. The main character, Valor, would make a plan, it would go wrong, you'd figure out what you thought would happen next, and then something completely unexpected would happen instead. Honestly, not one of my predictions throughout reading had an ounce of truth in them. The books were wonderfully paced as well, with believable characters and great interactions. Overall, it was a finely tuned pair of books. And I'm no literature professor, but of course Lauren didn't write the books for them, did she? I'm gonna go ahead and summarize the setting and the plot and talk about the characters a little. I'll do my best to keep this spoiler-free, but I cannot promise perfection. Prisoner of Ice and Snow is, as the title hints, set in a very cold kingdom. Either the land is just always freezing, or it's winter. Somehow I didn't catch it in either of my rereads. Suffice it to say, there's lots of snow and ice. The story of the first book starts in the capital of Demidova, the kingdom the story is set in. There are some other kingdoms around it and across the sea. Another important location for the story is Tirima, which I am pretty much definitely pronouncing wrong. I should have put a pronunciation warning up there by the spoiler one. This book is full of wonderful, impossible words, so I hope I don't embarrass myself. I'm just too dang uneducated. I think that takes care of the setting, land-wise. I'm gonna finish up the setting with plot. Valor Revenisaba has a twin named Sasha. She was accused of stealing a really special music box that was stolen from a neighboring country called Magnenskaya a long time ago. Queen Anna of Demidova was going to return it to seal the deal on the peace treaty. They were trying to make allies because another kingdom, Pyotsky, wanted to use their harbors to launch an attack on some other people. And then, since Demidova was caught in between, they would have inevitably become a battlegrounds. But the music box went missing and Sasha was blamed. She got locked in Tirima, which is a horrible prison for teens. It's freezing cold there. Surprising everyone. Valor has a plan to save her sister. It involves getting arrested on purpose so that she can get to Tirima and escape with Sasha. Trying to be vague here. I think that's as far as I can go without giving anything away. I will now take the last minute or so of the spoiler-free section to say some spoiler-free things about a few characters that were awesome. First off, Valor and Sasha's relationship was great. Executed very well. Plus, their personalities bounce off each other beautifully, and their skills, when used together, are quite formidable. Felix is awesome. I love scrappy characters, and thieves are basically the best of them. I love how throughout both books he was commandeering things for the good of the kingdom, or borrowing things. Katia is a very sweet person with hidden iron underneath her skin. Also, her fear of germs and dirt and stuff was an uncommon thing to find in characters. However, it was very nice and realistic to see that. Plus, it makes your interactions with Felix a bucket of laughs. Anatole seems pretty haughty at first, and of course he is. But after a few hard knocks, he becomes a very nice and mostly tolerable character. Once he's back to being haughty, you know a little bit more about him and it doesn't tick you off as much. Or maybe that was just me who didn't like Mr. Haughty Sniff over there. So I think that's the end of the spoiler-free section. If you've yet to read the second book, or the first, or both, and care about spoilers, or if actual self-control, this is the time to go to this timestamp. I hope at least someone stayed, because that means they read the book and loved it. Nicole was another character I liked. He got a really bad first assignment, and his later fate wasn't much better, but I'm glad he's back in the guard where he belongs now. Mila, the girl with the missing eye and the limp, is just a character I love. She doesn't seem all that criminalish to me. But of course, she's not too nice either, so... Inessa was at first really annoying because she seemed like an indecisive coward, but then I started liking her a lot more when she turned out to be evil. Anastasia made me really angry, which, since she's a villain, means Lauren did a great job. Queen Anna seemed hassled, and I just feel really bad for her. She's just trying to keep Demidova together, and everyone is out to mess it up. Being queen is a lonely position, but I imagine being queen everyone's trying to outsmart is much worse. Lastly, I think Anatole and Valor are going to get married later. Towards the end of the book, they were sending some very nice looks in each other's general directions. I think Felix has had a crush on Sasha since he met her, but Katia seems to like him, and he likes her back. So, am I just being ship happy? Did anyone else notice it? I do wish the book hadn't ended so abruptly. I like some good closure. Alright, now I can talk about the plot. Both of these books were the kind of knock your socks off, fall out of your chair, pull your hair out kind of books, full of plot twists and cliffhangers. The second book is an even better example of this than the first. First, the queen is kidnapped. Then they rescue Anatole, which was less surprising when compared to some of the other twists, but come on. Next, their tunnel experience with Anastasia. I was confounded. After that, the realization that Pyaotskan ships were about to sail on Sela. Mind-blowing. And their breakneck escape and trek back to the city. But the twist that really had me in open-mouthed wonder was the Pyotskans at the pass, the queen's rescue, and the closing of the pass. And then Valor getting shot. All of these things are perfect evidence of a great, wonderful, beautiful plot. Why is this not as famous as Wings of Fire yet? Oh man, I guess y'all can tell I really, really loved this book. The pacing was really good as well. Just enough for us, coupled with just enough breakneck escapes. When these two elements are balanced well, the book is much easier to digest. Now on to the art. So the first thing I want to do is thank my friend who I drew this with. We were hanging out one afternoon and drawing together a few days ago, and since she draws humans, I was working on the portrait since I knew she could help me out. In fact, she did a lot more than that. The idea of someone who knows what they're doing looking over my shoulder convinced me not to crop the boys out since I suck at drawing boys. And she also gave lots of little hints that was just a good second view of the concept sketches while I was sketching them. Like I would draw a face and she would say, his mouth needs to be a little bit higher. So that was awesome and I'm really looking forward to hanging out with her again soon. One of the reasons her advice was so helpful though was because there's two boys in this piece and I am so bad at drawing guys. I think my problem is that I started with girls, and by the time I even wanted to draw guys, I was used to drawing everything curvy. Plus, drawing curvy dragon necks for years prior to this wasn't very helpful either. So I had a lot of trouble with the basic shapes guys are comprised of. However, I think Felix and Nicole actually did turn out quite well. Usually my biggest mistake is the chest and head shape, but they ended up looking alright. Plus, I realized I might actually be making progress elsewhere. Usually I get everything done and then the eyes ruin everything. But this time, the eyes almost didn't ruin any of them, except maybe on, everyone but Valor? Honestly, I drew her first and got her right first try. Like, I was stunned. Then I tried Sasha, and it was so bad I had to completely scrap it and start over, which discouraged me for a while. But I'm glad I ended up working through it. So this piece is actually like 200 or 300 layers. Yes, be shocked. The way I do my humans is to have each separate color on a separate layer. I would have Valor's hair color and line art on a pair of layers. They'd be the top since nothing else covers them. Underneath that would be the eye shine, eye line, and eye color, all on separate layers. Basically, I would continue this multi-layer thing with a top-bottom approach. If the hair lays on top of the fur color, its layers are above the fur color layers. If the crossbow is slung across her back, then it's beneath all the layers, including the coat. I trimmed the line art and the layer locking out of the speed paint since it was boring and super time consuming, but I would draw my lines for that one section, the hair or the strap or the buttons, and then I would go on to a layer beneath it, fill it in, lock it, and move on to the next one. I did this for every single different base color. It was so beyond exhausting. However, the results are well worth it. Once I had that done, I would work on adding highlights and shades on the same base color layers. This is the same technique I picked up from Laura Hollingsworth tutorials, which I referenced in the Daughter of Kings video. They're great and you should totally check them out. This technique actually leaves less to be done with shading and highlights, which you know I'm all for. It works especially great with hair. After that's done, the last thing I do is duplicate each line art layer. I put the top to about 60% opacity and the bottom I put to overlay layer type. I did this for everything except for eyes, which I just left on normal at 100% opacity, and the hair, which I didn't have a normal layer for at all, I just had one overlay layer type. This works great for this technique. Overall, what you get when you're done with that is lots and lots of work, but a wonderful end product. For shading, I just took a dark blue to work well with the background, and put the layer types to multiply and the opacity to about 30%. I was able to get away with this easy shading thanks to the extra work I put in on all the other color layers. Well, that's all I have to say for now, or at least all I have the time for. Speaking of which, I'm going to be taking the month of October off of all my videos with speed paints. I want to spend some time restocking my channel with videos so I'm not working on them up till 2 days before I post them, or, as I am with this video, a couple hours before I can post it. Plus, as the year starts pulling to a close, I'm beginning to plan a lot of new stuff, especially for my monthly specials. There won't be a Guess This quote this month, and you'll miss 2 What's Its Faces. But this will hopefully let me take time to readjust into the winter season and have a breather. Thank you guys so much for watching. This piece will be on my DeviantArt and Redbubble, so if you want to go check those out, then feel free to follow the links I'll be sure to include in the description. And if you want art from me, commissions are very much open and very much unused, meaning there's no wait and no line, and I'll be super quick. I've also been considering a contest soon, so hold your breath for that. I hope you liked the video and have a wonderful week.